In the 1990s, the speed of information was bound by the speed of paper. If a crisis occurred on the other side of the planet, you didn't receive a notification, you received a delay. For weeks, the reality you inhabited could be a complete fiction compared to the truth. Zahid, a student living in Australia, was caught in this information gap. In October, he received a heavily delayed letter from his village in Bihar. It carried a single devastating fact. His father had died a full month earlier, back in September. He began a frantic journey home, navigating the slow, multi-leg international routes of the era. He landed first in the sweltering chaos of a domestic terminal before making the final trek to his rural village in Patna. Zahid's ancestral home stood in the absolute center of a Qabristan, a graveyard. For generations, his family had served as caretakers, living in a decaying structure built directly among the stone tombs.
He was met by his childhood friend Rajiv, who was visibly shaken. Rajiv begged him to stay elsewhere, warning that the house would suffocate him. But Zahid pushed through the graveyard and into the house, finding his mother, Fatima, waiting in the shadows. Physical distance and the lag of 1990s mail created a dangerous vulnerability. While Zahid believed he was arriving to offer comfort, he was actually walking into a situation where reality had already shifted into something unrecognizable. The anomalies began during a midnight smoke break. Zahid spotted a shadowy figure watching him from behind a fresh grave, but his mother quickly dismissed it, ushering him back inside and away from the night air. Zahid wanted his mother out of that house. He decided to sell the property and brought a real estate broker from the city to provide an immediate valuation. The moment the broker entered the home, he collapsed. He sat on the floor, gasping and clutching his throat as if an unseen force was physically strangling him. Once they got him outside, the broker explained his reaction through a specific taxonomy. He believes humanity exists in 3 tiers: the unaffected, sensitives, and the seers, those who physically see spirits. The broker claimed to be a seer. He fled, seeing 30 spirits crowding Zahid's mother, attempting to drag anyone new out. Zahid chose to ignore him. When the mind is heavy with grief, it will aggressively rationalize away even the most violent supernatural warnings to protect its remaining sanity. Fatima eventually offered her own grim evidence. She claimed that before his death, Zahid's father had been tormented by impure spirits rising from the graves, insisting that the house now belonged to the dead. She also described a bizarre behavioral restriction. An unseen force physically prevented her from ever stepping past the property boundary. She was a prisoner of the graveyard. On the night of Amavasya, the new moon, Zahid investigated a sound from the yard. He found a man slumped over a fresh, unmarked grave, weeping with a sound of despair. Zahid placed a hand on the man's shoulder to comfort him. When the man turned, Zahid saw the face of his deceased father. The shock broke Zahid's hold on reality, and he slumped into unconsciousness. This encounter represented a total collapse of the boundaries separating the living domain from the graveyard. The house was no longer a refuge. It became an extension of the graves surrounding it. Zahid woke the next morning and immediately began rationalizing. He convinced himself the encounter was a grief-induced hallucination. He packed his things, promised his mother he'd return, and fled the village. He sought safety and geographical distance, returning to his modern life in Australia. He believed that by putting an ocean between himself and the Qabristan, he had left the nightmare behind. Days after his return, he checked his accumulated mail. Among the bills was another delayed, month-old letter from his friend Rajiv. The letter contained a timeline that altered everything Zahid thought he knew. Rajiv wrote to inform him that Fatima had died on September 8th, exactly 1 week after his father. The revelation was total. The unmarked grave didn't belong to a stranger. It was his mother's. His father's ghost hadn't been haunting the house. He had been mourning his wife. Zahid realized then that he hadn't been comforting a grieving mother. He had spent days living with a phantom. This suggests a chilling possibility. The dead often do not know they are dead. The spirits around us may not be malicious monsters, but simply trapped memories, unaware that their time has already passed.